We're continuing our coverage tonight here on WCCO and CBSN Minnesota.
Protesters have set fire to Minneapolis' 3rd police precinct.
We want to give you a look from Sky 4. The significant thing about what's going on here symbolically is the 3rd precinct is where the officers who were involved in the George Floyd arrest were headquartered. And for them to take over this is significant for the protesters. The other thing that's we find a little unusual about this is there was such a heavy police presence at the 3rd precinct for the last 3 days, with officers barricading the front of the building, officers on the roof, the use of tear gas, rubber bullets, things to keep people away. Obviously, protesters have figured out a way to get through those barricades. You can see people occasionally throwing debris on the fire to keep it going, but the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis at Lake and Minnehaha, just a few blocks from 28th Street, appears to be the front of it on fire right now.
Yeah, we're looking from Sky 4. Well, they just turned the camera there, but to me it looked like it was at the front of the building. I don't know if it's inside the building, because at the front of the 3rd precinct there, they have a little bit of a, I don't want to say a garden or anything, but it kind of looked like it was within there. So at this point, we're not sure if it is actually inside the building, but we of course will try to find out the latest there.
You might have seen those laser lights too, the green and the blue. Sometimes protesters will use those to shine at the helicopter pilot if they don't want them in the area, and that's why our Sky 4 is pulling out of the scene right now. Very, very difficult for the pilot to get any kind of orientation and see what's going on if they're getting a laser light in their face. But tonight, the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis is on fire, and an activist group said that they actually have control of the building. Of course, all this began because of the emotional death of George Floyd. The video surfaced of an officer pinning Floyd to the ground, had his his knee on his neck on Monday night. All of those officers have been fired. They're under investigation. And of course, the protests and the tension's been growing ever since. David Schuman joins us now with more from the newsroom. David, you had an interesting perspective. You were with protesters. I know it was peaceful one moment, and then all of a sudden things would just turn.
Yeah, we were out there all afternoon, and the first fires we saw were actually a little after 7 o'clock, when a car was on fire in the Target parking lot across the street. But I've been watching that chopper feed for several minutes now, and we've been doing it from the station for safety reasons for ourselves and our crews. But it started as fires in the parking lot of the precinct, and now it has moved to what appears to be the front door, and other businesses surrounding the precinct also on fire. And just from walking through there today, there's already so much devastation, an auto zone destroyed, and just so many buildings hollowed out with fire. And now there appears to be more tonight, which is just heartbreaking. The crowds you can see are massive, packed in, shoulder to shoulder. And I saw a picture on Twitter that kind of to show the scope of what is happening. The picture was taken from Hudson, Wisconsin, which is 30, 40 miles away, and you could see the glow from these fires. There's another one now at the bottom of the screen burning, and we are just watching to see how this continues to grow, the crowds, the fires, and whether control will be able to be re-exerted on what's going on. It looks like fireworks of some sort are being shot up into the air as well now.
David, thanks. As we continue to look at this picture, you know, the other thing that's interesting is the chief directly 2 nights ago gave the use of tear gas and the use of rubber bullets, and gave police the authority to try to keep people out. Once protesters broke into the parking lot of the 3rd precinct, and his reason was he didn't want them to have access to the building because there are guns and live ammunition. He didn't want them to have access to the cars because the cars have guns and weapons and live ammunition as well. Don't know if he was able to take those things out of there, but that's one of the safety concerns of having people take it over, besides the fact it's a huge public building with a lot of symbolic significance.
Absolutely, and I know that the chief, as other state and city leaders, were saying that they respect the right to protest and to verbalize that. But once again, they said, please don't be violent or destructive. In fact, Governor Walz today declared a peacetime emergency in the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the surrounding communities, and he did activate the National Guard. And there was a tweet that just went out that said that 500 National Guard members have been activated to Minneapolis and St. Paul.
I got a tip call from someone today that said they saw a convoy of National Guard troops coming from Lester Prairie heading toward the Twin Cities. Can't say that they're the same group, but now that we have this word that 500 National Guard members have been activated, and it does take a while to get them organized and grouped, but as we've seen the last couple nights, the violence last night spread for 3 miles from the 3rd Precinct all the way down Lake Street into the Uptown area and some places that were removed from this. So now that this has happened with the fire, we're not sure what's going to continue, how this might spread. Maybe it won't spread. Maybe the National Guard will come in. But Minneapolis is the focal point of international attention because of these riots.